If your feet feel like they're sitting on a low-grade stove, you are definitely not alone. That burning feeling, it's confusing, it's frustrating, and honestly, it can be a little bit scary. So today, we are going to get some clarity on one of the biggest questions out there. Is this pain coming from my back, or is it something else entirely?
This quote from our source material, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? When our feet start burning, so many of us make an immediate assumption, sciatica. We blame our back, we start stretching, we pour all our energy into that one idea, all while the real culprit might be hiding in plain sight.
So that's the big question we're diving into. We're going to give you a really clear framework to help you understand what your body might be trying to tell you. Now, this isn't about replacing your doctor. Not at all. It's about getting you ready to have a much, much smarter conversation when you walk into that office. Okay, let's talk about this really common mistake. It is so easy to get locked onto one idea, right? The idea that all pain in your leg or foot has to be sciatica. It's a classic case of chasing the wrong villain.
I mean, think about it. You might be stretching your hamstrings like it's a full-time job, but if that burning feeling doesn't change one bit, listen, that's not a failure. That's data. It's a huge clue that the problem might not be mechanical. It could be something more metabolic, like the nerve changes that can happen with diabetes.
So, how do we get out of that trap? Well, we just shift our focus. Instead of getting all tangled up in confusing labels you find on the internet, we're going to focus on something way more powerful: patterns. The goal here is really simple. We want to go from being confused to being clear. And the way you do that is by becoming a kind of detective for your own symptoms. When you learn to observe your body's unique patterns, you start to collect the clues you need to find the real source of the problem. And this is our secret weapon, pattern recognition. It sounds fancy, but all it really is paying attention. Where does the fire start? How does it travel? When does it get worse? Just answering these simple questions is the absolute fastest way to get yourself on the right track. All right, now we're getting to the heart of it. We're going to break down the two very different patterns, diabetic neuropathy and sciatica, and we're going to do it using 4 key clues that you can start looking for today. Let's kick things off with our first clue. Where does it all begin? The difference here is huge. For the diabetic neuropathy pattern, it almost always starts in the feet. We're talking toes, the soles of your feet, and it slowly creeps its way up your leg, kind of like pulling on a stocking. But sciatica? That's a top-down story. It starts way up in the low back or hip and shoots down the leg. Okay, clue number 2, symmetry. This is such a simple but powerful giveaway. Diabetic neuropathy is often a story of 2 feet, affecting both sides in a pretty similar way. Sciatica, on the other hand, is usually a lone wolf. It picks one side, one leg, and it pretty much stays there, running down that single track. Now for our third clue, and this is how timing can give the whole game away. Neuropathy has this kind of cruel habit of getting much, much worse at night, when the world gets quiet and there are no distractions. Sciatica, though, is more of a daytime player. It really responds to what you're doing, sitting for too long, bending over in a certain way. Specific activities are what make it flare up. And our final clue is all about movement. This is where sciatica often tells on itself. If you can bend or sit or stand in a certain way and reliably change your symptoms, whether it's for better or for worse, that's a big flashing sign pointing toward a mechanical issue like sciatica. Neuropathy, however, tends to completely ignore your best yoga poses. That burning just keeps on going, no matter what your spine is doing. So here, we bring it all together in one spot. This little table recaps our 4 main clues and adds a bonus one: other signs. With sciatica, for example, you might feel numbness in a very specific stripe down your leg. That's what doctors call a dermatome. It's like a specific lane on the highway that's supplied by one single nerve from your spine. So think of this table as your quick reference map. Which column does your story fit into? Okay, I need to pause right here for something really, really important. While pattern recognition is an amazing tool, it absolutely has its limits. The symptoms you see here are red flags. This is not a puzzle for you to solve on your own. If you experience any of these, you stop self-assessing and you seek urgent medical care immediately. All right, now that you have this framework, let's turn all this knowledge into action. This isn't about just sitting around and worrying. It's about using the next 7 days to gather some clear, incredibly valuable information for your doctor. Here is a super simple plan. For this next week, think of yourself as a data scientist. Your job is to map your symptoms, test how movement changes things, and just log when the symptoms show up.
By the end of the week, you're not going to have a diagnosis, but you will have a powerful packet of information to bring to your doctor. And once you're in that appointment, this is basically your script. For example, asking about peripheral neuropathy or radiculopathy. And by the way, radiculopathy is just the fancy medical term for a pinched nerve in your back. That shows you've done your homework. These kinds of questions help you and your clinician get to a clear plan way faster, saving you time and maybe even avoiding unnecessary tests. So let's bring this all home. The whole point of everything we've talked about is to change the sequence of events. It's about putting understanding before you take action. I just love this quote. It perfectly captures the goal. It's not about getting every single expensive test under the sun. It's about using your clear story, your pattern, to help your clinician figure out the single next best step that's going to give you both the most clarity. So just remember, you're not trying to do your doctor's job. You're trying to make their job easier, and in turn, make your care way more effective. When you show up with a clear story of your symptom patterns, you save time, you save money, and you save yourself a whole lot of anxiety. It just leads to smarter care, faster. And that really leaves us with one final thought. You now have the tools and the framework to listen to your body a little more closely. So take a moment. Think back over the last few weeks. What pattern is your body showing you?